Welcome to the You on the Camino de Santiago podcast. This podcast is for and about first-time pilgrims walking the pilgrimage routes in Spain, France, and Portugal. With your host, guide and longtime pilgrim, Nancy Reynolds of the Camino Experience. Welcome back to Season 2 of the You on the Camino de Santiago podcast. As you're planning and preparing to walk the Camino de Santiago in Spain, Portugal, or France, what questions are on your mind? What challenges are you up against as you get ready for your pilgrimage? If you've put together a Camino to-do list, what is on your list? Hi, this is Nancy, and Season 1 of this podcast was all about getting started. You hear about the Camino de Santiago, and it sounds intriguing. And then what? How do you go from there to knowing if it's something you want to do, really? And then from there to taking your first steps on the trail. In Season 1, we answered the first round of questions that first-time pilgrims have when they first hear about the Camino. Questions like, what is the Camino? How long does it take? When is the best time to go? Who do I go with? How much will it cost? Where do I sleep? Where do I find food? In Season 1, we also heard from other first-time pilgrims who are getting ready for their Camino walks. Grace and Amanda, who were headed to the Camino Portuguese, Kathy and Abby, who were walking the Camino Frances, and another Kathy, who was going to walk the Camino del Norte in 2023, and our someday pilgrim, Kimberly, who isn't sure when or even if she will ever walk the Camino. I'm delighted to share with you that I have had the chance to talk with Kathy from Dallas, who walked the Frances route, and you are going to get to hear all about her walk. I am also happy to share that I have lined up some more conversations with other first-time pilgrims who are heading to the trail this year, and we will hear their stories and join in their planning process. In Season 2, we are going to move into a more tactical mode and look at what I suspect are your next round of questions. How do I pack for a trip like this? What gear do I need? And how do I select the right gear? Do I need trekking poles, a sleeping bag, rain gear? How does the luggage transport service work? Do I need to train for this? And if yes, what, how much? I also want to spend time on some softer, less tactical topics, like how do we prepare emotionally for a journey like this? Many people call walking the Camino a once-in-a-lifetime experience. If it's going to be that for you, how does that happen? How do you take your hopes and dreams and turn them into a life-changing experience? We have a lot of ground to cover. I'd also like to hear from you if you would like to be a guest on this podcast. The Pilgrim Conversations from Season 1 were the most popular of all the episodes of the season. Will you share your story? We would spend about an hour total together talking about your pilgrimage and answering any questions you have. And then your episode would go live about a month or so later. You'll find the link to sign up in the notes for this episode. Now, let's get started. I'm going to kick off this season with a topic that comes up again and again in the Facebook Camino groups and the online forums, the luggage transport services on the Camino. It's a topic with lots of details and logistics and choices for how to use it. You've probably heard pieces of information on this topic, but I bet you've been left with some questions. So in this episode and the next, we are going to cover this topic from end to end. You might have some questions like, how does it work? What can I send with luggage transport services? Is it safe? What company should I use? Do I have to book in advance or can I just wing it? Is it easy to set up or is it complicated? I don't speak Spanish, so how's that going to work? What if I have things I won't need while walking? We will cover all of that. And in fact, I'm going to break this down into 7 steps or subtopics for using the luggage transport services. There is so much information on this topic to share with you that I am dividing this episode into 2 parts. In this first part, I will talk about how the luggage transport services work and their guidelines for sending bags along the Camino. Then I will introduce you to 5 of the luggage transport services that work on the Camino Frances route and talk about the pros and cons of each. In the second part, I will walk you through the daily routine for sending your bag ahead and talk about what not to send in your transported bag or backpack. I will give you some creative ways to use these services, and I will also share how to transport luggage all the way from Saint-Jean-Pied-du-Port to Santiago. These 2 episodes were originally recorded and released in January 2023, but what you are going to hear today has been updated and is current as of April 2026. I will be focusing specifically on services on the Frances route, as I said, but you will be able to apply much of what's here to any of the other routes. Let's get going and explore the topic of luggage transport on the Camino. You may be wondering, why would you use a luggage transport service? Why wouldn't you just carry your backpack? Well, a lot of pilgrims do carry their backpacks. In fact, I would say that most pilgrims carry their backpacks and carry everything they're going to need for their trip the whole way. There are some people, though, who aren't physically able to carry a backpack, and some people who don't want to. Anyone can use the luggage transport services, and here's the thing. You don't need a reason. The Camino is physically taxing with or without carrying an additional 10 to 15% of your body weight in a backpack on your back. I've been using the luggage transport services since 2013 when I started leading groups on the Camino because I wanted to make sure I had some energy left over at the end of the day so I could carry on conversations with my pilgrims and be available if they needed anything. Before that, I carried my backpack every time for 7 years worth of walks, and I am so grateful I did. I'll talk about why at the end of the second part of this 2-part episode. Let's get to those 7 steps for luggage transport. Step 1 is to know the system. How does this all work? Luggage transport services move your luggage from place to place along the Camino, however far you are going to be walking each day. A stage could be 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers, 25 kilometers, or more, or less. The transport companies deliver bags to every village, town, and city along the various Camino routes where there are accommodation options. They deliver to hotels, hostales, pensiones, guest houses, casa rurales, and most albergues. There are a couple of exceptions to where they deliver. Specifically, they don't deliver to municipal albergues in the Galicia region, which would be from Obrero onwards. It is probably safe to say, though, that this wouldn't be a problem because pilgrims staying at the municipal albergues are often on a smaller budget, so they are less likely to pay to ship their bags. The other exception are some places booked on Airbnb and apartment rentals booked on Booking.com. Oftentimes, Airbnb places and apartment rentals don't have a reception desk. Instead, many will send you check-in instructions in advance and you let yourself in using a keyless entry system, so there's no one to receive and keep an eye on the luggage. If you're booking places on Airbnb or if you're booking apartment rentals on Booking.com, be sure to ask your host if they are able to receive your bag or if they have an arrangement with another place where the bag can be dropped off by the driver and picked up by you. When you use a luggage transport service, you have to know which town you are going to each day and where you will be staying so you can notify the company where to deliver your bag. You don't have to have a reservation at the place you send your bag, but you will probably want to. Keep in mind that just because you send your bag someplace, that doesn't mean you have a reservation. They may or may not have a place for you when you get there. And out of courtesy, please don't send your bag to a place where you're not planning to stay unless you contact the proprietor in advance to confirm it's okay to do so. What do luggage transport companies transport? Most pilgrims will use a backpack to carry all their belongings on the Camino, and the luggage transport services do transport backpacks. They also transport just about any other type of luggage: suitcases, duffel bags, day packs, even large shopping bags. Personally, I use a large wheeled duffel bag that has 2 handles that join together with a Velcro closure on the top. I find this is easier to navigate on guesthouse and albergue stairs because I can hook my arm under the straps and heave the bag up the stairs. The only real requirements for the type of bag are that everything has to be inside the bag, nothing attached to the outside that can become lost or damaged, and the bag can close securely. Next question you might have is, how heavy can my bag be? There is some variation amongst the different companies, but in general, you can send bags weighing from 15 to 20 kilos. In pounds, that's 33 to 44 pounds. It used to be that the transport companies were flexible on those limits, but I suspect that due to pilgrims transporting heavy bags, they have started to enforce the weight limits, and most are right around 15 kilos. As an example, the website of the CORREOS, or Spanish Postal Service, says that they are firm on their 15-kilo limit. If you go over that weight, their website says, you need to divide it into 2 bags. In some areas, Hacotrans has started charging a €10 per stage surcharge for overweight bags, charged to the credit card you use to book your transport on their website. Aside from the additional charges and the inconvenience and extra expenses, be sure you can get your luggage up a few flights of stairs yourself. Some places on the Camino have elevators, but not all, and there are no porters or bellhops to help. You may come across the occasional gracious host who will carry your backpack or suitcase up the stairs for you, but it's best not to assume this service is the norm. You may be wondering, how much does it cost to transport bags along the Camino? The companies that transport the bags charge a fee for each stage, and those fees range anywhere from €5 a stage at the low end up to €8 or €9 at the high end. You can pay day by day, or you can pay for your entire trip all at once. The prices I will be quoting are accurate for 2026 and may be higher going forward. When are the services available? The luggage transport services are available on the Camino Frances beginning the week before Easter through the end of October, with some variations on either side of those timeframes in some places. Service is also available during the off-season months of November through March on the final 115 kilometers into Santiago, on the Sarria to Santiago section of the Frances route. Are there services on all routes? The luggage transport services are available on most of the main routes: Frances, Inglés, Portugués, Del Norte, Primitivo, Sanabres, and Fistera Murcia. I'll be focusing on the Frances route here because that is the route I'm familiar with. Is it safe to use these services? Yes. And the occasional human error means that sometimes bags do get misdirected. Less common is theft, but that also happens on occasion. For this reason, I recommend not transporting anything truly valuable or irreplaceable. And here are a few tips to help you keep track of your bag. 1. Take a photo of your backpack or other luggage at the beginning of your trip. That actually goes for everyone, not just luggage transporting pilgrims. 2. Take a photo of the luggage tag or envelope every day, so you can send it to the luggage transport company along with a photo of your bag if necessary. 3. If your luggage can be locked, use a small luggage lock to secure your bag. 4. Be sure your luggage tag is clear and legible, and place names are spelled correctly. 5. Have your name and contact information on an index card in an outside pocket of your bag where it's easy to find. 6. If your bag gets lost, ask your host for assistance. Proprietors are often connected via WhatsApp, and your host can check around for your bag that way. 7. If you are really worried, consider using an Apple AirTag. Okay, that is an overview of the luggage transport system. Now let's go to step 2. Choose your company. There are many companies that deliver bags along the different Camino routes, and they all offer the same service, transporting your luggage stage by stage, day by day, but with slightly different systems. Each company offers the options to reserve and pay for your entire trip in advance, or to reserve and pay day by day as you go. Let's look at those two options. If you're using a tour company to book all of your accommodations for your Camino journey, that company will take care of booking your luggage transport service. The service will all be booked in advance, and you will have a tag to attach to your luggage, so the service can pick it up and deliver it each day. Your only responsibility will be ensuring the bag is in place for pickup each morning. If you will be booking all of your accommodations in advance yourself and not using a tour company, you can also book your luggage transport service in advance for your entire trip. Each company works a little differently, but in general, you would go to the luggage transport company's website, enter your starting and ending points and starting date, and the website will give you the cost of the service. Then you enter in all of your stages and where you'll be staying, and you will receive some kind of label to print and attach to your bag. If you think you want to book it all in advance, I recommend you go to each company's website and see how their system works. I will give you the pros and cons on each of the companies in a few minutes, so you have a general idea of where to start. The other option is booking day by day. If you don't want to book your luggage transport in advance and instead want to leave yourself some flexibility, you could book your luggage transport day by day, reserving and paying each day as you move along the Camino. This is the best option if you're not going to be booking all of your accommodations in advance before you leave home. Actually, I also think it's the best option if you are booking your accommodations in advance, as it allows you to remain flexible if your timing or itinerary changes. Now let's look at the different luggage transport companies. The first one is CORREOS. This is the Spanish postal service. CORREOS offers both book the entire trip and book day-by-day options, both of which are easy to arrange on their website. The most expensive way to use the CORREOS service is to book day by day. That will cost you €8 a stage. If you are able to book multiple stages at a time, your daily rate goes down as your number of days goes up. Here's why. If, for example, you book CORREOS to transport your bag from Roncesvalles to Santiago de Compostela and you prepay the entire way, the current cost is €240.50. That cost covers however many stages or days it takes you to walk the route. If you take 30 days, that comes out to €8 a day. If you were to take 42 days, that would come out to around €5.73 per day. So the longer you take, the lower your daily stage rate is. Once you pay, the website walks you through booking your stages. If you have booked your accommodations in advance, you can enter in your entire itinerary, print your label, and attach the tag to your bag on your first day on the trail. The label serves as a tracking mechanism, and the CORREOS website says that you will receive an email when your bag is picked up and dropped off each day. If you won't be booking your accommodations in advance, no problem. Print your luggage label, and then you can enter your daily destinations once you get to the trail as you know them. It's quite a well thought out system, but I did find one glitch. Now I'm hoping they've resolved this, but when I used CORREOS on the Camino Inglés in spring 2022, I entered in all of my stages and accommodations before I started walking. When I needed to change one of my stages, I found I couldn't do it on the website. Instead, I had to send an email to the customer service department and wait for a confirmation. just a little inconvenient. My conclusion is that it would be better not to enter in all of the stages and accommodations in advance, but rather to do it a few days at a time. You would still pay in advance and print your luggage tag, but then wait to enter where you're going each day. And one limitation, CORREOS doesn't pick up in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is located in France. It's not a problem, though, because you can easily use the next company I'm going to talk about. CORREOS does an excellent job of explaining their services on their website in 10 different languages, including Korean. That website is in the show notes. The next company is called Express Bricot. There are a couple of companies that pick up in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, Express Bricot and Donkey Service. Express Bricot has an office on the main picturesque cobblestone street in the center of Saint-Jean, just a couple doors down from the Pilgrim's office. They have English-speaking staff on site, and their hours are posted on the door. Don't worry if you can't get there during their business hours, though, as you can either book their services online or your host will assist you in getting set up. Easy. Express Bricot is a very reliable service with an excellent reputation. In addition to luggage transport, they also transport people. They run an airport pickup service to the airport in Biarritz, and they shuttle pilgrims up and down the mountain between Saint-Jean and where the Camino leaves the road at the Thibault Cross. And finally, they transport bags to Santiago for pickup at the end of your walk, which I'll talk about in part 2. Express Bricot's service is the most expensive of all the carriers at €8 a stage for bags up to 15 kilos. But you won't be paying that fee for more than 1 or 2 days, as their service ends once you get inside Spain. Then you'll switch to another service, such as Hacotrans. If you're going to Auberge Borda, Roncesvalles, or further into Spain, you can use Express Bricot. If you are going to Refuge Orson for your first night, you do not want to use Express Bricot. I'll talk about that in a moment. The Express Bricot website is full of helpful information available in 11 different languages, and that link is in the show notes. Now, about Donkey Service. This is the second company that operates out of Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. They also deliver to the 3 stops up the mountain, Honto, Refuge Orson, and Auberge Borda, and to Roncesvalles and the next couple of towns inside Spain. If you are staying at Refuge Orson, you want to use Donkey Service, not Express Bricot. It seems that when Express Bricot changed ownership a few years back, something went sideways with the owners of Orson. If you innocently use Express Bricot to deliver to Orson, your bags will be left outside in front of the refuge rather than inside the closed gated area. And then the next morning, you will have to wait for Express Bricot to arrive to pick up your bag before you can start walking. It may seem silly, I know, but it's easily avoided by simply using Donkey Service if you're staying at Refuge Orson. The cost per stage is the same for both companies coming out of Saint-Jean, €8 for up to 15 kilos. Donkey Service is run by English-speaking Peo, and he is super efficient and reliable. He doesn't have a physical office in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, but your host, wherever you are staying, will show you how to get set up with his service. More on how that's done in a few minutes. Peo also runs a taxi service up and down the mountain and over to Roncesvalles. But be warned, I have heard from 2 of the pilgrims in my Camino experience groups that riding on the winding mountain roads with Peo is not for the faint of heart. The next company is Hacotrans, and if you see it written, it looks like Jacotrans. Hacotrans is the highest volume carrier on the Camino Frances and also the most affordable of the day-to-day book-as-you-go options. In high season, Hacotrans moves more than 150 bags per stage, and it's likely you will see their vans zipping around the towns and villages as you make your way to your destination each day. According to their website, Hacotrans charges €7 a stage for the entire Camino Frances, whether you book day-to-day, pay in cash, or if you book in advance using their website. They used to drop their rates to €5 a stage from Sarria to Santiago, and they may still do that if you pay in cash rather than book on their website. You'll have to ask when you get to Sarria. Also, there used to be a discount code for their website that would drop that rate down to €6 a stage up to Sarria, but that has been phased out for 2026. The Hakotrans website is a little wonky and very light on useful information, and I think it would be really cumbersome to try to book your entire trip with them in advance. I prefer to go day by day with them, which is easy and convenient using WhatsApp. If I'm going to book ahead on the website, I wouldn't do more than 3 or 4 stages at a time. And if you do use their website, you will find it is available in English, French, Italian, and of course, Spanish. Hakotrans strategically divides the Camino into regions, and each region is managed by a different person. So if you book with Hakotrans using WhatsApp, you will be sending your messages to a handful of different numbers during your journey. Those phone numbers are always printed on the envelopes where you put your money and mark your destination. Next up, Camino Fácil, the easy way. This company is widely used by the tour companies that book accommodations and luggage transport in advance for pilgrims. They have a good reputation too, and their standard rate applies to luggage weighing up to 18 kilos. If you are handling your own accommodation bookings, you can book Camino Fácil online in advance for your entire trip or day by day. Their prices start at €6 a stage if you book multiple stages and up to €9 a stage for one stage at a time. They do pick up in Saint-Jean-Pied-du-Port, probably through an arrangement with Expressbury Co. So if you are staying at Refuge Orison, be sure to ask which company actually does the transport to Orison and then to Roncesvalles. You can learn more and try out their stage-by-stage booking system on their website, which is available in English, French, German, and Spanish, and that link is in the show notes. Is that it? No. As I said before, this is only a sampling of the luggage transport companies that cover the Frances route. You can also check out Pilbeo and NCS on the Frances route, but these companies that I've just talked about should give you an idea of who is out there and what they offer. Also, different companies serve the other routes. I've selected these 5 companies just to give you an idea of how they work, and you will find that other companies offer the same or similar services. Now that you have an idea of what each of the luggage transport companies offer and the guidelines for using their services, we'll take a break here. When you're ready, jump over to the second part of this 2-part episode series to learn what you will need to do each day to send your bag or backpack ahead. We will also look at what not to send with these services and also how to lighten up your load if you find you have too much stuff, or if you have brought along things you won't need while you're walking the trail. I'll see you in the next session.